Have you ever thought that spiritual awakening would be like stepping into a bright, beautiful world where you truly understand yourself, live with purpose, and feel overflowing love? But then, after those first enlightening moments, you suddenly feel lost, lonely, exhausted, and unsure of your direction? Have you ever asked yourself, did I do something wrong? Or why does understanding myself more make me feel so empty and sad? You're not alone. Many people, after waking up, find themselves falling into a state of disillusionment, feeling unmotivated, sometimes even numb to the everyday world. Spiritual awakening isn't always light and bliss. For many, it opens a door to a dark, quiet space where they're forced to face old wounds, watch long-held beliefs fall apart, and confront the unsettling feeling of losing who they once were. According to Carl Jung, the renowned psychoanalyst, this isn't a breakdown. It's a necessary inner transformation. He described it as the dark night of the soul, a stage where you must walk through darkness to be reborn into a more authentic version of yourself. So what's really happening inside you after your awakening? Is there a way out of that darkness? Let's explore these questions through the deep and powerful lens of Carl Jung. If this topic speaks to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you won't miss any upcoming videos that dive deeper into these meaningful ideas. And please, share your thoughts and feelings in the comments. We'd love to hear from you and walk beside you on this journey of self-growth. 1. What happens after spiritual awakening? There are moments in life, after a deep loss, a breakthrough experience, or a sudden insight, when you just know something inside you has shifted. You're no longer the same person you used to be. At first, it can feel exhilarating and freeing. You feel like you've broken out of old patterns, shed limiting beliefs, and begun seeing life with new eyes and an open heart, vibrant, hopeful, and alive. But then, quietly, that sense of meaning begins to fade. The things that once excited you now feel dull. You don't feel like chasing after anything anymore. It's not that you're lost, it's that there's an indescribable emptiness inside you. You stop caring. You stop striving. Not because you're weak, but because you're in the middle of a deep inner transformation. This isn't giving up, it's a shedding, a necessary release of what no longer serves you to make room for something much deeper and more real. 2. The paradox, awakening, but losing motivation. Spiritual awakening for many seems like the gateway to an inspired new life. We expect that once we uncover deep truths about ourselves and the world, we'll feel more alive, passionate, and full of energy. But the truth isn't always as radiant as we imagine. Behind that initial light, many people actually fall into a state of exhaustion, confusion, and disconnection. Not because they're weak, but because they're confronting a deeper layer of themselves. As one friend once shared, after going through a powerful spiritual experience, what she called her dark night of the soul, she genuinely felt awakened. But instead of feeling free and energized, she found herself emotionally numb, disoriented, and detached from everything she once cared about. That isn't failure. It's a natural, even necessary part of the transformation process. Sometimes, to truly step into the light, we first have to walk through the shadows of our own soul. 3. Carl Jung and the deeper insight into awakening. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's the uncomfortable truth few people talk about when it comes to awakening. Awakening isn't about gaining something, it's about letting go. It's a true psychological death. It's the moment your old self, your identity, values, goals, and the image you've clung to begins to unravel. You're no longer the person you used to be, but you're not quite sure who you're becoming either. It's not total disorientation, but more like being suspended in between two worlds. The old has crumbled, the new hasn't yet formed. You're feeling your way through a fog with no map and no way to turn back. But that in-between space, that's the beginning of real rebirth. Because to become someone new, you have to be brave enough to shed the skin of who you once were. 4. The identity crisis after awakening. The values you once lived by, success, status, recognition, used to be your compass, your measure of a meaningful life. But as you begin to awaken, those values start to crumble. They no longer hold the same meaning. And it doesn't feel like a simple loss. It feels like an inner collapse, quiet but heartbreaking. As those old values fall apart, you're left with a vast emptiness, a kind of existential void where everything that once felt certain now seems vague and hollow. It's not just uncomfortable, it's deeply unsettling, like drifting alone in an endless ocean with no shoreline in sight. It's not that you've lost all direction, it's that you haven't yet discovered the new values that can replace the old ones. You don't have a spiritual compass yet to guide you through this unfamiliar terrain. But here's the opportunity. That emptiness, it's sacred space. It's the place where you get to rebuild yourself from the inside out, to craft a value system that's real, lasting, and rooted in your own lived truth and growth. 5. The conflict between your old self and your emerging self. Your old self, the ego you've always known, doesn't want to let go. It clings to the familiar, old habits, old dreams, old ways of being. It tries to take control, pushing you to stay on the same path because it feels safe, even though deep down you know that path no longer fits who you're becoming. But inside you, something deeper has awakened. There's a quiet, powerful voice calling you to let go of the roles, beliefs, and patterns that no longer serve you. It's asking you to embrace uncertainty, to surrender control, to step into the unknown. And this tension, the push and pull between the old and the new, can feel like an intense inner war. This conflict is not a failure. It's not a sign that something's gone wrong. It's a natural part of transformation, proof that real change is happening within you. 6. The sacred emptiness phase. Carl Jung called this period the sacred pause, a crucial stage in the journey of becoming your most authentic self, also known as individuation. It's not a sign of failure or breakdown. It's a deep, inner transformation quietly unfolding within the soul. In this phase, you experience a kind of stillness that is both uncomfortable and powerful. It's a time when you confront your shadows, release outdated values, and prepare for something new to grow. And it's in this very silence that the foundation for your true life begins to take shape. But in today's fast-paced, productivity-obsessed world, this sacred pause is often misunderstood. People may label it as laziness, stagnation, or even weakness, when in fact, it's the quiet ground from which real strength is born. 7. The risk of spiritual bypassing. After awakening, some people get stuck. Instead of integrating their inner transformation into real life, they begin to withdraw, rejecting the world, isolating themselves, and disconnecting from reality. They build emotional walls, hoping to protect themselves from the overwhelming inner chaos. But this kind of retreat, though tempting, can lead to spiritual stagnation. The true self doesn't reject the world. It seeks to engage with it in a more conscious and meaningful way. Awakening isn't about running away from life. It's about rebuilding your place in it with new clarity and deeper purpose. When you move beyond denial, you shift from being a passive observer to an active creator. You begin to make meaning, contribute value, and engage with the world not from fear, but from authenticity and inner wisdom. 8. The in-between phase. No longer the old you, not yet the new you. On this journey of awakening, the moments that feel like collapse or failure are actually sacred rites of passage. They're not the end, they're the preparation for the next breakthrough in your growth. Carl Jung described this phenomenon as enantiodromia, the turning of things into their opposite. It's the powerful transformation when outward intensity and drive give way to deep inner stillness and reflection. From all the outer noise, you're being called inward towards stillness, integration, and acceptance. This is not weakness. It's the shift from explosion to presence. It's where you reconnect with the essence of who you really are. And it's in this stillness that the purest light within you is born. 9. The role of intuition and symbols. When you enter a deeper stage of spiritual awakening, your motivation and direction no longer come from logic or rational thinking alone. Instead, they arise from heightened intuition, symbolic dreams, and deep unspoken emotions. These are subtle signals, often overlooked by the conscious mind, but they quietly guide you toward your true path of growth. Carl Jung called this the language of the unconscious. It's a gentle, powerful form of communication, where your deeper self sends messages that help shape a new direction for your life. It's not the loud chatter of the rational mind. It's the quiet resonance of your soul speaking in symbols and feeling. When you learn to listen to and trust this inner language, you unlock deeper creativity, intuition, and self awareness. Through that, you begin to discover the path that's truly aligned with your authentic nature. Not what the world expects of you, but who you really are. 10. The collapse of the old motivation system and the silent restructuring of a new one. The motivation that once drove you often came from the ego, a desire to prove yourself, to be recognized, to succeed by external standards. Those goals acted like a guiding light, pushing you to work harder, achieve more, and secure your place in the world. But awakening strips those old motivations bare. You suddenly realize that the goals you once chased no longer resonate. They lose their power. You're no longer driven by the same reasons, and that's your soul signaling it's time for a complete internal shift. This often leads to a kind of freeze phase where you feel stuck, unmotivated, or disconnected. But beneath the surface, something profound is happening. Your psyche is quietly rebuilding a new inner structure, one that's more authentic and in tune with who you're becoming. This process takes time. It can't be rushed, forced, or controlled by willpower. You have to learn to surrender, to let go of control, and allow transformation to unfold in its own natural rhythm. Only through patience and trust can a new, sustainable source of motivation emerge, one that is rooted in your truth, not your fear. 11. The rebirth of motivation, soul-driven purpose. Motivation is making a comeback, but not the kind that's fueled by stress, urgency, or pressure like before. This time, it doesn't stem from chasing goals or needing approval from others. Instead, it rises from deep within, from a place of alignment with your truest, most authentic self. It's a calm, steady, and deeply fulfilling energy that inspires you to live with more intention, depth, and honesty. Psychologist Carl Jung called this the symbolic life, a way of living that transcends logic and intellect. It's led by intuition, meaningful symbols, and emotional depth. In this space, you're not just getting through life, you're intentionally tuning into your soul, where every moment carries a sacred and personal significance. 12. Life after spiritual rebirth. You're no longer a slave to rigid routines or jam-packed schedules. Now, your actions come from a deeper place, from a quiet, inner knowing. You're not doing things to prove yourself or to win approval, but because they resonate with your truth. Your ambition doesn't disappear, it transforms. It becomes a heartfelt dedication to truth, presence, and inner evolution. You stop obsessing over external achievements and start honoring the here and now. You lean into your personal growth, nurture what truly matters, and find joy in the journey itself.